we should stop doing it because we don't want to get sued by the FDA. They said not to put it inside of an implant. So people just stopped using it altogether.
Okay.
Now, this rickettsia is sensitive to a lot of different things. It's also sensitive to betadine. And the people that did the investigation, these are all consistently out of Australia, and a few other people that are strongly affiliated with Allergan, say that it is this bug that's causing it. People aren't using betadine. We need to use betadine, and we'll solve the problem.
Okay.
However, that doesn't seem to add up because why isn't it happening with all the other implants where people aren't using betadine?
Right. Right. And this is all based on a study of just 21 patients?
Yes.
Okay.
One study.
One study, okay. Interesting.
And so when you dig deep into all of the studies that are out there, the pieces don't connect. Because this is like the sample size in and of itself is the error. Then basing this huge leap of faith to this bug is based off of it being like 51%.
Right.
So that's another error. Then now all of these people that are producing the studies all seem to be affiliated with implant companies. There's no independent studies being done.
Right.
Now, with all of this, there's a whole thing where these textured implants, shaped textured implants, right? So when you have round implants, you don't need texture because round implants, they have a front and a back, and there's no other direction to it. They can spin around like Wheel of Fortune all day long. They're still in the right position.
Right.
Yeah, but teardrop needs something to
grip it.
Position.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they've been using teardrop implants since, I've got to look up the exact date, but it's somewhere in the late 90s worldwide. It's only recently that we started talking about ALCL. That time seems to correlate. Now, this is all speculation and correlation. This is my whole conspiracy theory, which doesn't make any sense to me because it only started being talked about when it was introduced into the U.S.
Right.
And there's a large pushback of people wanting to use textured implants in the U.S. No one had any issue with ALCL until it got introduced to the U.S. The issue seems to be that there's a little bit different methodology to placing it. And what had happened was that whenever the implant companies would introduce this, oftentimes the surgeons that they had used to demonstrate the placement would make it massively complicated as far as how you had to place this because they wanted to present themselves as experts or whatever they came up with. And so people didn't like using them. They're like, it's too hard. I don't want to do this. I want to do it my way. It's always worked. There's no problems with it. And so they started being pushed back, and the sales started to drop. And more people said, well, I don't understand why you need to use this. These look better. People like fullness. They don't like this shape. Now, granted, everywhere else on Earth, Canada, South America, Central America, Europe, Asia, everywhere, the textured implant is their implant of choice. So right around all this time is where ALCL pops out of the woodwork. The most number of cases come out of the U.S., followed by Australia, where there's a lot of sponsorship. And in Europe, nothing really seems to be happening. But they're also not going to get sued, so they start putting out all of these warnings of we need to know what's going on with this, we need to know what's going on with that. When it first came out, the incidence was, and this is also in my presentation, it was like 3 in 100 million.
Right.
Now, and then it went down to, they did a little bit more, like 1 in 500,000 or something like that. And then now it's something like 1 in 30,000. All of these cases seem to be coming out of Australia and the U.S. And they're extrapolation. So they're saying this risk of 1 in 30,000 is because, well, we only have, I think, 300 some odd cases right now. Out of all of the, people in the world that have breast implants, and they've looked at who's been textured, who's been this, and they've come up with this risk. The other part of this is that let's say that you have textured implants and you think you have it. You can report it to the database and it gets counted.
Okay.
Ah.
So the initial counting was flawed. Is it something that had been pathologically assessed and diagnosed? Here's a bug, here's this, or forget here's a bug, here's this. Do you have lymphoma or not?
Right.
So it wasn't. So if your family doctor finds out that you have it or thinks you have it, they can report it.
Mm-hmm.
That's also counted as case number 2.
Ah.
You're number 1. Your primary care is number 2. And then if your surgeon does it, that's number 3. The pathology does it, that's number 4. And it's all you.
Wow.
So, all this stuff, again, it's just me reading the articles going, hey, there's someone pointing out this is flawed. There's someone pointing out this is flawed. But all these flaws get glossed over. And people go right to the summary. Well, what's the summary? Well, this is the rate. You fix it this way if it happens, and these are the signs. Now, there's big money behind all this. Allergan is the, main target. The FDA right now, as they see this number go from 3 in 100 million to 1 in 30,000, hasn't even said maybe we shouldn't put them in anymore. They certainly haven't said if you have them, go get them taken out.
Right.
Right.
They haven't said anything about it. Now, is it really something that is this low of an incidence, this high of an incidence? That's the problem that's flawed. What we know is it exists,
Right.
but we don't know how